Welcome friends. So today we are going to discuss about glycogenolysis, that means breakdown of glycogen to get the glucose. When there occurs fall in the glucose level of blood, so at that time there occurs initiation of the glycogenolysis. The hormone glucagon and epinephrine are working as a stimulant to initiate the glycogenolysis. The glycogenolysis occurs in liver and muscle because glycogen molecules are present at that location. Our body stores excess glucose in the form of glycogen in liver and muscle. The more quantity of glycogen it is present in the liver, whereas less in the muscles. Both are occurring in the cytosol, and both these uh, reactions, that is glycogenolysis and the glycogen, have separate enzymes. As we know, the glycogen, it is formed by the union of glycogen residues. They are joined to one another by means of two types of bonds, that is alpha 1,4 glycosidic bond and the alpha 1,6 glycosidic bond. Alpha 1,4, it is between the first carbon and the fourth carbon of two glucose residues, which are forming the linear chain, which are forming the horizontal chain, whereas the alpha 1,6 glycosidic bond occurs between first carbon of one glucose residue and six carbon of another glucose residue, and which is the in the branching. When the chain of the when that parallel chain needs to form the branch, at that time there occurs formation of alpha 1,6 glycosidic bond. So in the first step there occurs action of the enzyme glycogen phosphorylase, which breaks the bond alpha 1,4 glycosidic bond to yield the glucose 1 phosphate. This process continues up to the formation of limit dextrine. Limit dextrine, that means it is the structure like this. When that particular glucose molecule with the alpha 1,6 glycosidic bond, it has four glucose residues on its either side. The four glucose residues on the upper row, in the upper row, whereas the four glucose residue in the lower row. It is the we can say representative diagram. No need to draw this diagram in the exam. It is simply to define this concept in some easy way. These are the glycogen molecules. These are the it is that particular glycogen primer, and these are the glucose 1 phosphate. It is the non-reducing end, whereas this one, it is the reducing end. And always remember that addition or the removal of the glucose residue to the glycogen, it is on the non-reducing end. And this particular brown line, they are defining the alpha 1,4 glycosidic bond, and this green line, it is defining the 1,6 bond. So it is the end product of the step 1, that is formation of limit dextrin. Then step 2. The step 2, there occurs action of debranching enzyme. It has two functions. That is, first it is transferase activity, and another one the cleavage of the bond 1,6. So in the transferase activity, the fragment of three glucose residues or this particular enzyme cuts the three glucose residues from one chain and transfers these three residues to the another chain. Here occurs the cleaving of alpha 1,4 bond at one position, and then the formation of the same alpha 1,4 bond at the different place. So at the end of step 1 we have this structure. So the transferase activity of debranching enzyme breaks this particular alpha 1,4 bond and transfers these three glucose residues at this position by forming the alpha 1,4 bond at this location. So after transferase activity of debranching enzyme, we have the structure like this one. Then the another activity of debranching enzyme is the it will cleave the alpha 1,6 glycosidic bond, and due to that particular action it releases the free glucose molecule. So at after the action of transferase activity of debranching enzyme, we got the structure like this one. So after this particular bond alpha 1,6 bond will cleave and it will release the free glucose molecule like this one. The remaining molecules of glycogen are available for the action of phosphorylase and debranching enzyme to repeat the step 1 and 2. The third step, formation of glucose 6 phosphate and the glucose. So after the step 1 and step 2, we got the glucose 1 phosphate and free glucose in the ratio of 8:1. That means 8 molecules of glucose 1 phosphate and 1 free glucose molecule. As we know, the limit dextrine, it is made up of 9 glucose residues. Glucose 1 phosphate get converted into glucose 6 phosphate by the enzyme phosphoglucomutase. This particular steps are same in muscles and the liver. Whereas in liver, as the liver has the enzyme glucose 6 phosphatase, the glucose 6 phosphate is get converted to glucose in the liver. Whereas as this enzyme, that is glucose 6 phosphatase, is absent, so glucose 6 phosphate is the end product in the muscles. In both the cases, that means whether we are getting the glucose or the glucose 6 phosphate, both will enter into the glycolysis to form the energy. It is the flowchart of glycogenolysis. I have taken this from one authentic book, that is uh, Essentials of Biochemistry by Satyanarayan and Chakrapani. So this diagram, it is sufficient for you. Then recap what we learned. We learned about the definition. We talked about definition, that means simply the conversion of glycogen to glucose or the glucose 6 phosphate. Then about step 1, end product limit testing. Step 2, that is debranching enzyme. It has two activities, transferase and that particular cleaving of alpha 1,6 bond and production in the ratio of 8:1. Then again we are discussed about the step 3, in which that glucose 1 phosphate is converted into glucose 6 phosphate in muscles and glucose in the liver and products as per the location. So it is up to the glycogenolysis. For this I have used the book written by Satyanarayan and Chakrapani, Essentials of Biochemistry, and this matter it is on the page number 140 to 142. Thanks.